Hello, this is the last case presentation. My client, his name is Patrick Starr. His date of birth is August 6, 2004. His referral source is from Wings for Children and Families of Maine. His session date is 3/24/20 to current. His risk assessments consist of the ABDA and behavioral tract disorder. So his reason for referral is that Patrick has been referred to the Stetson School due to difficulty managing his emotions and impulsive behaviors. Patrick has a history of demonstrating negative behavior, including verbal aggression, physical assaults, property destruction, defiance, and self-injurious behaviors, also suicidal and homicidal statements. Patrick was also reported to engage in inappropriate sexualized behavior with peers on several occasions and would benefit from education and treatment around healthy sexuality as well as relationships. So the risk assessment, like ABDA, stands for like Adolescent Behavioral Disorder Assessment, and it's a structural clinical format designed to assist 11 elements and risk domains associated with behavioral disorders in adolescent males 12 to 18 years old, ranging from mild to severity of the different problematic behaviors. So my client Patrick Starr, his overall global concerns regarding disordered behavior was significant, and his court involvement is the extent that, and it's kind of unclear because like his other placement in Maine, he's supposedly like assaulted staff members, like hitting, spitting, like calling names. He also has the parental rights of Patrick's biological mother has been terminated in May 2016 and does not have any contact with her. The legal guardians are the biological father, Mike, and the stepmother, Alice. And the family background and lifelong connections for Patrick involve his biological mother's parental rights been terminated, and she's not participated in Patrick's life since then. This lifelong connections with his father, Mike, and his stepmother, Alice, who have legal custody of Patrick at this time. So the full biological sister, Jamie, at the age of 14, who currently resides with Patrick, as well as the father and stepmother. Patrick has a half-brother, Casper, at the age of 1, while the stepmother, Alice, has 2 children of her own from a previous relationship, Byron, at the age of 8, and Simon of 9. So all full biological half-brother and 2 step-male siblings, including Patrick, reside in the home of the biological father, Mike, along with stepmother, Alice. So Patrick's father, Mike, and stepmother, Alice, are very supportive to Patrick's needs to participate in a residential program. He has participated in several other treatment facilities, such as crisis stabilization units in Maine. Patrick's parental reports that he has no significant changes in his behavior, and they are concerned about the safety of their child as well as the safety of their children in the home, as evidenced by the inability to allow Patrick in the home with his siblings alone. So language and communication. Patrick's primary language is English. He also understands and communicates of the age-appropriate manner. However, he struggles to verbalize his needs and when he is emotionally escalated. To his cultural and ethnic background, Patrick identifies as Caucasian. He's an individual, and he denies any religious or attends any type of religious services. Patrick's strengths: he enjoys playing video games, watching wrestling and soccer, and he's very interested in the future in the construction field. He wants to be a construction worker. He is very effective through his open skills, like they're very helpful for him, such as like deep breathing, the use of like stress balls, listening to music, playing with stuffed animals, and weighted blankets. So his mental status exam is kind of interesting. So when meeting Patrick, his presentation is very frequently rapid throughout every like conversation. Like he'll like go from like one topic to another, especially if he doesn't really like it. He's very positive, happy, and very ecstatic when he prefers the topics he wants to talk about, and it can be highly agitated with the non-preferred topics that are brought up. He becomes instantly withdrawn, ignore all verbal prompts, like saying his name over and over again, and like having him back on track. He becomes aggressive with other objects, so like if there's like paint or like a stress ball near him and he doesn't really like the conversation, he'll like either like throw it at the wall aggressively or like try to like tear it up So Patrick's stepmother reported that he has a history of auditory hallucinations. However, Patrick denies questioning about these experiences looking around like the room. He stares like intensely, but there's no like you ask him a question. Usually will like deny if he has hallucinations, but sometimes it is very interesting. Like you'll talk to him and you can see like there's like something going on, like auditory hallucination. Like there's like you'd be talking to him, he's like looking over his shoulder or like looking at like focusing on something in the room that doesn't really have like color to it, that's like eye catching, like something like that. And if you ask him like something that has happened with like his negative behavior, he'll be like, I don't remember. Just like very denies what has happened. So Patrick also exhibits significant impairment in judgment and insight. He engages in instigation such as name calling and often bullying people. He also has a history of lacking an empathy or remorse for well-beings of others, including insulting, having racial offensive remarks toward others, physical aggression toward others, and history of cruelty to animals. So Patrick significantly has history of suicidal ideations, making suicidal statements, and he's been hospitalized a frequent number of times. He also makes statements saying, I'm going to kill myself, or he said, why don't you go kill yourself, like if he's like talking to you and he doesn't want to really talk about like the subject or like a touchy subject. He's very apt to like say like, why don't you go kill yourself, to very direct the problem like not at him anymore. So Patrick report, there's no plan to follow through with anything like that. Like I talked to our supervisor a bunch of times and was very worried or concerned. Like that's just the way he talks. It's very negative and harsh, but he doesn't really have a plan. He doesn't have a plan that hurting himself or others, but it's very very aggressively sounding how he says it. There's no attempts either. So there's other placement. He was found carrying a sharp weapon. So he's on a program where like no objects or sharp objects in the room, so he doesn't harm others. His substance abuse history, he's reported that he's exposed to substances during the in vitro utero, such as cannabis, cigarettes, and alcohol. At the age of 5, Patrick experienced neglect from his biological mother as well as father and developed abusing alcohol. So his father ended up abusing alcohol, but he ended up getting help, so that's very good. His medical history, Patrick was born via C-section as well as with irregular cranium and a result of produced delays in his development, such as in areas of speech, language, and fine motor skills. Also reported that Patrick was unable to talk until the age of 2.5, and he experienced delays in learning how to walk. So his developmental history from the age where he was born to the age of 5, he's been reported to have been exposed to substances such as cannabis, cigarettes, and alcohol. He was born in Brechin, Maine, via C-section of 39 weeks. Patrick was born with an irregular cranium, producing developmental delays in speech, language, and fine motor skills. His stepmother reported that he did not speak until the age of 2.5. He experienced delays in learning how to walk. Has participated in special education and occupational services at the age of 5. It was also stated that during the infancy, he was neglected by his biological mother, and the father was abusing alcohol at that time. During the time Patrick was exposed to parental domestic violence, his father was arrested due to domestic violence charges and spent 3 days away in jail. From the age from 5 to 12 to 13, at the age of 6, the stepmother reported that there were sleeping problems, so 6 to 7 days without any significant amount of sleep. At the age of 7, Patrick entered a partial psychiatric hospitalization due to aggressive outbursts. Patrick remained the biological mother until 10 years of age, when he was exposed to many inconsistencies of male partners of the mother's household, like within a few years. So like the mother would have like a different boyfriends coming in and out of the house. So 5 documented episodes of physical abuse from Patrick's mother's boyfriends and second husband. So she married another time. So the second husband threatened physical forces by slapping Patrick across the face. And then the other boyfriend, he violated a restraining order and hid in the house, and he said if Patrick didn't lie for him, he was going to threaten him to punch him in the teeth. Patrick did not provide any medical attention to this, and none of this happened. He eventually told his mother about it, and it got into another restraining order from that boyfriend. So at the age of 10, he found out that he was exposed to one of the boyfriend's 13-year-old son, and they reported that they were like keeping secret games, and then Patrick refused to discuss what happened to anybody. Even right now, it's very hard to open up to him about what happened. So in April 2015, Patrick's mother violated another restraining order and exposed her son and sister to their mother's boyfriend. So, yeah, both children stated that they were very scared, and previous reports, and Patrick enjoys... okay, sorry, my bad. So, in 2015, the mother's boyfriend violated a restraining order and exposed himself to both Patrick and his sister, and then the mother broke up with that boyfriend, and they do not talk to that boyfriend anymore. So both children stated that they were very scared of what happened. Shortly after that, Patrick enjoys wearing females' clothing, and he feels like a girl at some point. So Patrick's stepmother reports that his behavior was not accepted by his biological father, and the female clothing was often taken away from him in 2018. He was not requested by any objects or clothing for the opposite sex since then, while Patrick's stepmother, Alice, believes that it was more like an attention-seeking behavior. So at the age of 14, in previous treatment programs, the Goodwill Heineke program, Patrick lured supposedly 2 peers into the closet, and a staff member caught 3 of the children in the closet touching each other's genitals. So at the Lakeland Behavioral Health, Patrick convinced a 10-year-old male roommate that to touch him in the inappropriate areas. Patrick also was in his second or third residential hospitalization at the age of 15. So he went to the Kids Piece, Rounded Residential Goodwill, Lakeland, and then currently Stetson. So his education, he has a full scale of 60. He's provided frequent breaks and positive reinforcement to praise. So every time he does something good, it's always good to like reinforce, like, wow, good job, and to promote the good behavior that he's doing. Because otherwise, when he's not in a good mood, when he's very dysregulated, he often will punch walls, throw items, have tantrums such as grabbing weapon-like objects like pens and hitting people and kicking them. So property destruction is huge with him. He can tear down like shower curtains in the unit, or in the home he did. He could break windows. He smashed like his window through like a Rubik's Cube. He like kept like slamming it, and that had to be taken away with him. He's not on a no objects in room restriction. So his work experience, he's at the age of 15, so he does not have really any employment record. He does not demonstrate any vocational or occupational readiness at this time. Patrick was expressed pure interest in the construction field. So his diagnoses is disruptive mood dysregulation behavior. He has severe recurrent temper outbursts and manifests verbally and behaviorally that are grossly out of proportion in duration of the situation. Temper outbursts are inconsistent with the developmental level and moodily, typically irritable and well noticed by others. Conduct disorder, childhood onset type, the limited prosocial emotions, moderate, with prosocial emotions. So he has social norms or rules are violated and manifest by frequent bullying, threatening, intimidation by others, cruelty towards animals, property destruction, and stealing. So with the pro-social emotions, he does not really feel bad or guilty when he does something wrong. The individual shows a general lack of concern with the negative consequences and actions, dysregulated with concern of the feelings of others. So the next diagnosis would be attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, presenting the combination type. So this is given to Patrick because he presents impulsivity, hyperactivity, and inattentiveness that impacts his daily social and academic functioning. He has intellectual disability, mild, full scale of 60 IQ. His deficits in intellectual functioning, such as reasoning, problem solving, planning, abstract thinking, judgment, learning, and learning from experience. Difficult areas in adapting to functioning in areas result in the failure of developmental and social culture standards for personal independence and social responsibility. So I want to roll out PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, because it's very unclear what at this time he is very he's not opening up, and it's really hard to get to him. So the exposure and the actual serious injury, death, or sexual violence is evidenced by directly experiencing a traumatic event. So it's ruled out to the lack of information given to the possible symptoms and the unwillingness of the individual's readiness to discuss his past traumas. So his medication are trazodone, intuitive, thorazine, and tripitol, and his past is Seroquel, Abilify, and Lamictal. So his treatment recommendations I would definitely recommend would be cognitive behavioral therapy. So cognitive behavioral therapy consists of focusing on challenging and changing unhelpful cognitive disorders or thinking errors and behaviors, improving emotional regulation by providing personal coping strategies that can resolve current concerns or problems. So this can help Patrick organize his thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. This also might gain insight to himself, will help Patrick develop effective coping skills. Family therapy would be huge because his father and stepmother seem very involved in his life. So this is can improve his self-esteem and bring reassurance to the people that care about him, even though that he might think it might not matter. It's good to have that background, that reassurance. So it will help and aid him building and understanding relationships, as well as psychoeducation for himself and his parents with his problematic behaviors. So another one that I thought would be big would be social skills and group therapy. So a social skills group, I guess, would be good because it would help Patrick learn and develop how to interact with people, basic learning, how to from his behavior problems, that will give him reassurance that he's not alone. Also that to learn and demonstrate how his behaviors can affect someone else. Emphasis on learning personal boundaries and space, relationship building, conflict resolution, and communication skills, showing that the use of team building relationships can be beneficial for lifelong connections and social support. So that was my presentation on Patrick Starr.